I'm coming to you, um, okay, I'm coming to you giving a reading update. I have been reading a lot, writing a lot, if you read the description in my last video, and I thought I'd just kind of like, once I finish a book, I'd pop in and kind of give like my raw, fresh feelings and thoughts about it. So from the list of my February TBR, I have added more to it that I don't think I mentioned in my video. I added maybe 4 other books. 2 of them so far have DNF'd, which I'm going to talk about, and one I just finished this morning, which I really enjoyed. It was very different from anything I've read. So yeah, let's just hop right into it. And then today, waiting for me at the library is my next read, which is Water Moon, Paper Moon. I mentioned it in my February TBR video. I'll put a picture here so you can be reminded of what it is. I'm very excited. I think I'm gonna have to read it quickly. Usually when books are very popular and have like a long hold list. Last I checked, there was only 3. I was number 2 in line. There's like you only get it checked out for a week due just to like high demand or something like that. So hopefully I have 3 weeks to read it. I don't need that much, but I really want to enjoy it because I'm really looking forward to reading it. But first off, I'm going to start off with DNFs. I picked up the first book in the long 50-book series by J.B. Box. I could be wrong, but it's called Naked Heat or Naked Death. It follows an agent, Eve, and it's like, I was not anticipating this. This is a very popular series amongst patrons where I work. So I was like, oh, let me check it out so I can have something to like communicate and be personable with, I guess. It got my interest right away. It has to do with Eve, and everything's like set in the future. It's like the year 2050 something. There's like flying cars and stuff like that. There's like robots that help you and just like other futuristic things. Guns are banned and all. Like, it was very, very interesting, intriguing. And I feel like I would enjoy it if I was in the right headspace for it. But I feel like it was something maybe a little too close to like reality that I just didn't want to intake at the moment. So maybe in the future I'll pick it up. Again, I didn't feel like anything was wrong, like, oh, this was terribly written. I literally only read like 4 chapters, but I just kind of knew like, okay, like, she gets called to the scene to a very gruesome murder and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, I don't think I want that right now. Right, so my second book that I picked up from my TBR, which I mentioned and put a picture of, but Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I've seen this all around Instagram right now. Sorry, I like just cut my hair and I feel like I have hair everywhere. What was I saying? So yeah, I started this. I got fairly in. I read like 6 chapters. Again, good, right? Again, I can't say anything wrong about it because I didn't finish it, but it was very descriptive of like what people were wearing and like the area, and like it's told from 3 POVs, which is my cup of tea. I like multiple POVs, but I just was like, it was like very like I was dreading picking it up, right? And when I feel I'm trying to be like, no, I'm like, next and next, because I have so many things I want to get to, and if it's not catching my interest within the first few chapters or the first 100 pages, then I'm not gonna make the effort. And I might, like, for example, maybe in a different mindset, I'll pick this up again. The same thing with that other book I just mentioned, because there's tons of good books out there that maybe I am passing up on or I might never read, which is fine. But I'm reading for pleasure, not a chore, not to like study and learn. I don't need that right now, so that's why I DNF'd it. It has great reviews on Goodreads, all over Instagram. The third book, it's a trilogy. the third book came out, and actually there could be more, I could be wrong, and everyone loves it. And I think someone that did a pretty lengthy, like, quick Instagram video review about it, Two Sisters, which I really like their page. I'll try to link them down below if I remember. I think with this one they mentioned that, you know, book one is like a little kind of like obviously a build up, world building, character building and everything, and then book 2 and 3 like are amazing, like action packed, which I love that. You know, I don't like, oh, I don't want to read action, I don't want to read fighting. Like, that's one of my favorite animes to watch, is like anything with like really good fighting sequence. So anywho, yeah, I DNF'd. It is what it is. I might pick it up in the future, I might not. I think I'll live. I'll survive. So in my perusing, this caught my eye. It is Dragonwyck by Anya Seton. This is a American author. This is a classic. She wrote Catherine, Avalon, Devilwater, and Foxfire. And yeah, she wrote this. This came out in 44. And there's movies and stuff about it, black and white movies that are very popular. But I don't know, this just kind of caught my eye. Again, the cover is very pretty. I was like, oh, let me check it out. And I then looked, because I was just like, I was having like a little bit of trouble like getting into things, and I'm like, okay, let me do an audiobook read along to like really immerse myself. And I found the full-length audiobook for free on YouTube. I'll link the playlist down below. Really well done. My only thing that I was like, why are they doing that, is that they would skip paragraphs. They would skip pages, and I would have to stop and then read back. And yes, it was like kind of just fluff, and it wasn't anything super integral to the story that maybe wasn't mentioned later, so I assumed it sounded very professionally done. So that was my only kind of like little frustration, because some of the things that they like skipped, which a couple times was like almost a page and a half, I was like, okay, well, I wanted to like listen to that. I wanted to know, even though it wasn't like important. So this is a gothic romance novel. I think this is like my first like true gothic romance that I read that's not like super filthy smutty and just kind of like they end up together, whatever. It's very dark. This young simple girl, Miranda, from the country, gets a letter from a very well-to-do cousin to be like, hey, come here. And she takes the opportunity to leave the drabs of the farm and like go to high society New York, right? So she goes, she's like a bumpkin and all this stuff, and she's very romantic, very infatuated, very impressionable, and she's just like, wow, this is so grand, this is so much better than the farm and everything. And so Nicholas is one of the main male characters. He's very stoic, very dark, and just kind of like he has like this air about him that like pulls you in, but then like makes you hesitate of like fear and just like, oh, I have like a weird feeling and all this stuff. So it pretty much just like goes through her, how do I say this, her journey of like being integrated and like kind of like this culture shock of different classes and adjusting and desperately wanting this life, and then starting to feel like this infatuation with her cousin, which it's like they weren't first cousins by any means, but they were of relations of different family sides and stuff like that. So, and she comes to the manor, which is Dragonwyck, and she kind of like becomes like a governess, but also like she's there, she is part of the family. But Nicholas is married to Joanna, and Joanna is, so there, I mean, maybe this didn't age well, like if you read it now, you're kind of like, oh, it's like fat shaming and things like that, but it's very descriptive of her like being large and unkempt and just very like strange and just focused on eating. And obviously she has some kind of mental issues that she's dealing with of the tragedy that is explained throughout the book. And so kind of like there's this animosity and just kind of like, oh, I could be better than her from Miranda's perspective, and just kind of like she's the inner workings of like, he's this man of the manor and he has all this land, and at that time it wasn't, the time it's set in is 1844, so before the Civil War between the Yankees and the Redcoats and all that stuff. So, but up north, like, you can be free, right? You can have your own land and stuff like that. But since he has like this long lineage of like, oh, this is our land, and he collects a little bit of rent, and it's more just for show, but he's like, they have it so good and all this stuff. So it's just like really, you know, seeing the inner workings of society and the different classes and how people were just trying to be free and like be their own. It's like, we're not the South, like, we're not, you know, we're not indebted to you. We've paid off this land 20 times over. Like, why can't you just give it to us? And so that's like a big theme. I think something that actually happened historically during that time of like these aristocrats, like, you know, that we cut off from England when we came here, and then we still picked up some of their things of just like, oh, the manor, and then this, and like, I mean, they call them patrons. They didn't call them like lords and dukes or anything like that, but then kind of just like, hey, we broke away from England for the very sake of like, we can be free, own our own land, we don't have to like respond to masters and stuff like that. So it's really like historically, there's a lot of that. I really enjoyed that. We don't get too much of Nicholas's POV, just here and there, and he has this dark energy around him. The house is very dark and gothic, and he's just like the macabre and macabre. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So it's just very descriptive, very gloomy. There's hidden secrets, there's skeletons in the closet in this home. But like, Miranda's so like, she's very young, naive, and just very impressionable, and just like enamored with this whole life that she wants so bad, and all this stuff, and tragedy happens and all this stuff. And I mean, I guess just like spoilers, like, they end up together, Nicholas and Miranda, and you know, it just happens within a tragedy, and she's just like, yes, oh my god. And she's just kind of like submitting and being brainwashed and all this stuff. And she's like in this denial that like pretty much just been a little voice in her head like, hey girl, stay 10 feet away from this man. Like, yes, he's gorgeous, yes, he's amazing in the outside, but inside he's black to the core. You know. So it's kind of just, then we go into like her 4 years of marriage with him, and like just what it's like, and his mood. She just doesn't understand, she can't get close to him. And there is like RAPE, marital RAPE. It's not on page, it goes fades to black, and then she kind of like almost like Stockholm syndrome, kind of like, okay, this, you know, I come to have this shameful passion for it and all this stuff. So, and then there's other characters. There's Jeff Turner, which is local young doctor who is like for the people, like working class, and trying to like speak up for them, and he gets involved in all of this. It was really, really good. I give it like a 4.5 star. The only reason I didn't give it a full 5 star is because, I don't know, like, I didn't feel the, like, I mean, at the beginning I was like, okay, so the wife is not that good, right? And no warrant for, like, they didn't cheat or anything. Like, he didn't, like, try to, like, sway her, which I don't like reading books with cheating and all that. But, I didn't necessarily feel extreme chemistry with them, like, oh my god, I want them to be endgame and all that stuff. Like, it was, like, much more than that simple romantic notion from, like, for example, Daydreamer, that other book I just reviewed in my last video. This is, like, had, like, a lot of layers and very dark and kind of, like, questioning, like, morals and stuff like that. And as you find out things, you're just like, oh, damn, okay. So, where was I getting with that? Like, I lost my train of thought. So, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So the reason I didn't give it a full 5 star, and again, spoiler, I'm going to fire you here, spoiler, they don't end up together. Like, something tragically again happens. Again, their whole relationship is just this tragic, dark storm that's just brewing and bursting at the seams. But I don't know, I kind of wish, again, this is just me of, like, the typical romance books that I read. It's just, like, I kind of wish that, how do you say this? That this was kind of, like, of her getting to him and kind of, like, not, like, oh, fix him, but just him overcoming this detachment he has felt since his mother passed away when he was young. But again, you hear the gossiping of the other aristocrats of like, oh, I heard he was a very difficult boy and he only his mother could calm him, and all this and that. So I understand why it didn't go there, and like I'm okay with it because he was a very evil man. He did evil things. He was very egotistical. At the end, it's kind of like, oh, he was a perfect example of egomania and all this stuff. Like anything that bad happened would like he would just like act like it didn't happen. Like, oh, I'm like, for example, there was a riot. All the aristocrat went to go see Macbeth, and there was people that were like, just commoners. They're like, oh, I bought a ticket and I'm not being let in because it's just like the hoity-toity can go in and all this stuff. And then they're being ushered out the back, and he's like, no, we're gonna walk out the front like we came in. And she's like, oh my god, no, please, like it's dangerous. Like, no, I'm not. Like, he has like this super high mighty thing about him. And then when a new president was elected and they abolished the kind of like, like the gentry who had amounts of land with tenants on their land, like they had to give it away at some point. And he was just like having none of that. Like a big, like, this is mine, this is my legacy. It's been this way, like, why does it have to change? Which I think is like another good parallel, so to speak, of like today. Of kind of like those people, like the 1%, of like, why does it things have to change? Like, why do we have to do this? And even though like we're so advanced, we're still so behind, Just a thought. I'm trying to get all weird, whatever. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to read Catherine or check out some of her other books. Again, there was a happy ending. She did end up escaping and all this stuff, and she ended up with someone who loved her and cherished her, and she was able to like really kind of like make a full circle moment of growing up, because she was very young. When she got to Dragonwyck, she had a 19th birthday, and by the time everything was all said and done, she was like 20. She was like 23, 24. But a lot happened to her, poor girl. And like, I love the side characters. There's this really funny French count in there that we get his POV. He's kind of being like a little nosy hen, and kind of like speculating, like, he can instantly see the chemistry, like at the beginning and all that stuff. He's like, wonder what's gonna happen. So it ends in tragedy, but also has a happy ending. There is infant death, which was really hard for me to read. That is kind of like a trigger of mine. But otherwise, I highly recommend it. I will most definitely check out more books of her. I'm happy that I took a chance, and it redeemed itself from like DNFing this and kind of like being bummed I didn't like devour it to devouring this. And yes, I highly recommend the audiobook on YouTube. I'll link the playlist down below if I remember to, and anything else that I mentioned. So yeah, I'm gonna end the video here. I'll probably post this. I think I'm gonna post like once or twice a week depending on the time that I have. So right now, as I'm filming this, it's Monday the 10th, and by the time you see this, it'll be like next Sunday or so, whatever. I think that's the best that I can do, because I don't work on Sundays, so I can film at some point during the week and just kind of have everything up by then. So I think that's the trajectory of the channel. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, all the good stuff, if you so wish to continue listening to me ramble. I don't know if I made any damn sense. Again, I'm not the best at like articulating. Like, I have no notes. I'm just trying to be like off the top of my head, remembering, and like the emotions I felt and everything. Again, because I don't have time to like sit and edit and make it like super professional. So I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, I can't wait to start my next read, and I will again, update you on that when I finish it. So yeah, I hope you have a great Monday wherever you're watching, and I hope you read something beautiful this week or this month for your TBR, that you just kind of like find a new favorite author, and I hope you make something beautiful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.